I'm Galveston County Daily News Sports Editor Joshua Buckley, here with sports reporter Roepken and Mainland editor TJ Aulds. And we're here to talk about some high school basketball today. This will be a two-part video podcast. We're going to go into boys basketball to start off with, and in part two we'll discuss some of the girls teams and questions involving them. So let's start off. Corey, I know your Daily News blog post that you make every week regarding the boys power poll gains a lot of attention. Kind of go over your power poll this week and why you decided to do some of those things.
Well, number one, they were pretty low at the start of the season, but Ball High's up to number one. I have no question about that. I mean, they're clearly the best team in the county. I don't think they have a tough game coming up Friday at Clearbrook. But I'm not. I mean, I think that's the only game that they might lose the rest of the way against teams in the county. Number two, we got Texas City. They're undefeated in their 4A district. They deserve to be there because of that. They've won 8 in a row. They went on the road, beat Angleton. They beat Friendswood. They crushed their arch rival Lamarck by 22. They're easily the best team in that district. Number three, we got Clearbrook. They were number one in the pool at the start of the season, or early in the season, I apologize. And they've since went down, then climbed back up as they've won every game except the one on the road against Ball High. Number four, Clear Springs. One of their starters is out right now, but they did still manage to beat their arch rival Clear Creek on Tuesday by 20 points. That's pretty good, even though it was at home, but they were missing a starter. If they can do okay while he's out, get him back into the mix for the playoff push, they could win a game or two in the postseason. Clear Lake, they've lost their last 2 home games after I was pretty high on them early. They lost to Clear Springs and Clearbrook, both at home. Those are good teams, but in the name of high school basketball, you've got to defend your home court. And if you're not doing that, even against the best teams, then you're going to slip in my pool. Friendswood, they rebounded with 2 wins against Angleton and Santa Fe since losing that heartbreaker to Texas City last week. The shot that went in at the buzzer by Greg
Was that the best game that you've seen since you've been covering high school basketball down here?
No. That was a really good game. It's definitely up there, but the best one I saw was last year's game between Ball High and Clearbrook, at Clearbrook.
Anthony Miles hit a...
No, Anthony Miles, right? No, Anthony Miles scored 40 points in that game, and I think that was just about half of what Clearbrook scored. It was something like 81 to 80, 80 to 79, something like that. But it was back and forth the whole way. I've never been at a game where all the fans stand up at the start of the fourth quarter, and I mean, and they're cheering the whole way. I mean, usually you stand up for a last-second shot, but that was just so crazy the way that game went down, and it wouldn't surprise me if the second installment of that game this Friday is just like that. Then you got Lamarck, picked up a big road win over Brazosport last night. They're first in district play, so that's really going to help them. Then Dickinson, only 5-22, but they've won 2 of their last road games in district play, so that helps them. Clear Creek at 9, injuries have hurt them, and Santa Fe, number 10.
Yeah, I thought you hit it pretty well on the poll, obviously, and you even addressed the controversy of, putting Friendswood ahead of Lamarck, even though Lamarck had just beaten Friendswood, although I thought you had a good reason on why you decided to do that. Yeah,
I moved Lamarck ahead last week because Lamarck did beat Friendswood by 17 at home. But then the next week, Lamarck goes and they lose by 20 on the road at Angleton. It's a loss on the road, which is okay against one of the better teams, but it wasn't that close. And then Friendswood, they had Texas City beat. If Greg Wilson doesn't hit that crazy shot at the buzzer that somehow banked left instead of straight, I don't know how that happened, but it did. Friendswood had him beat on the road. It would have been Texas City's first loss in the district. I'm just convinced that Friendswood, if they played on a neutral court, would beat Lamarck right now, and that's kind of how you go with the poll.
I think that's what's interesting with polls. Is that when you get to gauge on polls, not just wins and losses, You can tell things, like you're talking about, as guys are going down the court, how they're getting the shot off. The Friendswood game, it's the last second shot. The loss that Lamarck had by 20, and you said it wasn't even that close. That's a good indication of the style of play and how good they are. Yeah, you can get, even a bad team can get a win on a good night, and that's why that's why the polls are always
especially
debatable.
in boys high school basketball.
Right.
I mean, it's really a lot of parity.
You can't just keep the wins and losses in there. I think the most interesting thing to me, the story wise, is Ball High.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's just talk about what these guys are going through. I mean, you talk about what goes through. Football, that was one thing. I mean, that was really right after the storm. But this team at a school that's lost enrollment and everything else, playing at the level they're playing at right now,
well,
is amazing.
It was supposed to be a rebuilding year. Gerald Temple had told us at the end of the year, hey, I expect we'll be good, challenge for a playoff spot. He had no idea at this time last year that this team would be this good. And I've been really impressed with them as well.
Yeah, I mean, they bring back 4 players from last year. They lost 10 seniors from that team that shared the district title, the Clear Brook. When you talk about Ball High, maybe you talk about, okay, Ismael Ruiz is, can be excellent, but, he's really the only one that you think, okay, maybe he's a star. The rest are just really, really good, and they play well together. And I think that's a testament to what Gerald Temple has done and the program he's built, getting those kids to buy in to